There he is, this
Hello.
man. There is this 10 man.
How are you, my friend? How you doing? All right?
I am doing fantastic, brother. I'm doing fantastic.
That's the way. Hey,
Italy
man,
on
it's so
holiday.
hot here in Australia. When are you coming back?
Oh, he's actually getting warmer already?
Oh,
Yes.
mate, today was a sensational. It's been great all week, but this weekend
Beautiful.
it's hot as. I've been out in the sun all week, loving it. So
You look 10. You
you're
look
gonna be
10.
you're gonna be happy when you get back, my friend. We'll hit Bondi Beach together, and I think we're gonna have a good time.
I look forward to it. I'll be back on Tuesday evening. I land.
Beautiful, lovely. How's things been, man? It's been a while since I've chatted with you. We've done a few sessions, but we did the podcast, which was your rise to fame. Obviously, after my podcast, everything
Of
went
course it
went
was.
wild for you. Hey, I've seen you all over the place. You're in Italy. You're traveling the world doing your workshops. I've just booked in for your Melbourne workshop, so I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, have you been, man?
I'm excited, brother, to get back in Australia. I have a lot of, I've done a lot of international, and I actually already got booked for Dubai, Morocco. So there's a lot of traveling coming up for me. But
Wow.
I'm gonna spend 3 months in Australia fixed. Like, gonna do Melbourne, gonna do Gold Coast, gonna do Sydney. Gonna be around my mates, my brother. Gonna get the new apartment. So I'm excited.
Beautiful. That's so good. Do you
Yes.
think, is it just my outside opinion that things have really turned a corner for you in the last 6 months or so, or is this just a normal day in the life of Tiziano in terms of, you're traveling the world and doing workshops? From my observation, from when I first discovered you to now, which is almost been a year, it seems like something's happened, something's flicked the switch, and you've gone like this.
It did, brother. Eventually has been over the last 6 months. It's been a massive growth, business wise, financially wise. Just a lot of things they evolved. But in the last 3 months, and I say 3 months because it's also been part of Italy, they really boomed. And those international workshops, they obviously brought me a lot of visibility, and we got more booking, we got more work. And obviously, Adrian, the thing is, while I work on myself. So the more I serve others with thousands of people these days, and the more I actually start to discover the things about myself, and the more I evolve myself. So obviously, I enter in resonance with the bigger public, with more people. I
Hmm.
enter in resonance with a bigger service, and that is the biggest achievement for me, to serve more people. And the fame, yeah, it comes around it, but it is about serving more people. And if I want to serve more people, I need to self-develop myself and go to another level.
Hmm. Can we explore that a little bit? So when you say that, do you find that when you're hosting your workshops or when you're working one on one with a customer or a client, do you find that there are healings that are mutual, as in like it's a two-way street? Maybe you might be healing someone else or helping them overcome a certain blockage, but you yourself are being faced with maybe a theme or a similar pattern, or something's coming up all the time where it might be something to do with your lineage. Am I on the right track when I'm talking about that?
I'm gonna clarify this, and I'm gonna divide the answer. The first one is, Adrian, I don't believe so. I believe I need to go through it myself first in order to give it to others. If I have not walked that morphogenetic experience, how can I resonate it to others? How can I show to them or pass to them the healing they require if I don't have it? So I
Hmm.
need to be in morphic resonance with what they are requesting. And that is always pushing me to, it's not even pushing myself, it's just a morphogenetic field that makes me go through something. When I go through something, the other person feels the resonance and comes to me. I give you an example to make you understand. A few weeks ago, I had a really bad go towards my mother. I really told to her everything. I cried all out. I really got all the anger out towards her that perhaps I never released when I was a child. after that experience, Adrian, I constantly had clients that they had to go to their mother and tell them everything and tell her everything, but they never done it out of guilt. They always felt I cannot do it because my mother cannot support that. And they kept her little and they kept themselves little by not doing it. So when I actually done that myself, I constantly had people, Adrian, that the session ended with, go to your mother and tell her everything.
Hmm.
And some of them, they had so much resistance, brother, to do so because they feel so much guilt towards her. They feel, I cannot tell her, she's 70, she's 60, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. But the courageous one who are actually courageous enough to go and do that towards their mother, they make their mother bigger and they make themselves bigger. Why? Because they face guilt. They tune into a higher form of love. What they say to their mother is, would you love me still even if I get angry at you, even if I make you cry? And that is a higher form of love. They take their mother in full.
I like that. So where do you find your biggest stumbling blocks or the things that you need to work on yourself the most? Are you aware of the patterns and programs and systemic challenges that might be coming up within you, or does it, now that you've been doing this work for such a long time, does it kind of show up in the form of whatever, a relationship or something to do with your, like you said, your mother or your father or a friend or whatever? How do you kind of like work through things? Is there one particular thing that's always like a, I don't know, something that you haven't healed yet or you haven't moved past? Is there a particular area of yours that you maybe struggle with?
The most evolving pattern for me and everybody is our relationships. When you relate with someone, and you relate in a loving place, you know, there is desire for that somebody. When there is desire in place, means that the soul has an evolutionary path over that person, with that person. And desire tells you differentiate what is the platonic relationship, friendship, and then the loving relationship. The only things that differentiate those two kinds of relationship is desire. But when you have desire biologically, what it is to a soul level, the biological desire is that person has an evolutionary path to you. She serves you to evolve. So for me, when I have such a strong desire, such a strong sexual attraction for somebody, generally there is a big evolutionary path for me, and that's where I am now. I had desire for the last couple of years pretty much with the same person, and my evolutionary path is going through that person, and that's what I find the biggest challenge. And the biggest challenge that I face through that person is eventually my mother. Because with my father, work-wise, expression-wise, purpose-wise, you know, I'm big in that. I'm really big because with my father we are very close. We are very much in tune. But with my mom, she has actually been my biggest and deepest challenge. And I feel this is the first time in my life, Adrian, that I can say I take her in full. This is the first time in my life. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And considering like from the last time we spoke and the other podcast that I listened to you in, you know, your father was probably one of you would say your biggest challenges up until this point, right? Like he was quite violent. There was a lot of distance between you two, and there was a few things that were going on there, but you guys seem really, really solid.
My father has been, Adrian, more my evolutionary path in my teenage years. In my teenage years, he was the biggest challenge for me because he was absent. So through him, I had to find my way through his absence. Eventually now, when I found my way and my purpose, I went back to heal what is my mother. And I always think to people, I always express to people the path of a soul. Look at Jesus Christ. He left his mother, the body, to go towards his father. And he found his purpose in his father, the spirit. The father is the spirit, the mother is the body. And then he reincarnated back into the body and he went back into his mother. That is the path of the soul. Mother, father, mother. Mother, at birth, you go towards your father, you find your purpose in life. And eventually, when you find your purpose in life, you bring it into the body. So you express it into the world. This is the path of the soul. And this is going to be written for many, many years. And I express it in my book, and I know it's gonna
Mm.
so big for psychotherapy, so big for therapeutic approach, so big for self-development.
Mm. And is that why the relationship is such a key point for you at the moment? Because the way you love your partner is the love of your mother? Is that the synergy between the two?
Uh, Spot on, brother. Spot
Uh,
on. Probably you heard me a
I've,
lot say that,
I've
but
been
spot
I've
on,
been
brother.
listening to you, Tiziano. I know
Brother,
exactly what's going on. Yeah. No, I don't know
brother,
exactly, but I've got a good idea.
you did, brother. And mother is relationship. Your mother represents your relationship. I always express the way you love, the love you perceive from your mother, that is the love you perceive from your partner. Eventually, for women, the archetype you look at in terms of behavioral traits, that is your father, because you fall in love with your father as a behavioral trait. Although the love you experience, the way you love the other person and the person loves you, how you perceive that love, that is the way of your mother. Big
Mm.
time. Big
Mm.
time. I have a big attachment towards my mother love. And when my partner doesn't give me that form of attention or attract or obsession, I would say,
Oh,
I get angry because that's the love of my mother. Although I have realized that it is actually a coping mechanism that I use to send my mother away and
way.
then test my love.
Yes, yes,
So I
yes.
get attachment towards my mother and jealousy to send her away and test how many times she comes back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how I use jealousy and attachment, and everybody does that.
Interesting.
Attachment and jealousy are unconscious ways to send your partner away.
Uh-huh. The image that come up when you just said that, I'm not sure if I'm in alignment or not, but when you're a kid and you do something and you look behind you to see if your mum's watching, and so you want the praise. Like, do you see what I just did then? And when it doesn't come, you're like, fuck, I'm rejected, now I've been, I'm not loved. I need to perform a bit better. And, you start to use your accolades as a way of proving yourself. You know what I mean?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
It is, everybody has some unconscious pattern that they use, but I became strongly aware of this pattern of people who are attached or jealous towards their partner. Unconsciously, they want to send them away.
Mm.
And they want to send them away because they have given that spot to one of their parents, their mother or their father, or ex-partners, of course, that they're representative of their mother and father.
Okay.
And then they become, they imagine their partner doing something because actually they are the one doing it. They think their partner is looking towards somebody else because they are the one unsure and they look towards somebody else. It's
Mm.
always like
Always a mirror.
that. Yes.
Yeah, I like it. Do you think that the trajectory of your business growth has given you the courage to face your mum?
I think it's the opposite, brother. I think
Really?
it's the opposite,
The other way
brother.
around.
The fact that I have the courage to face that guilt and take my mother in full,
Mm.
expand my business, grow my business, make my business really in service, really successful. Because your capability to take your mother, your capability to face that guilt is your capability to receive from others.
Mm.
I give you an example, very simple, Adrian. If you take 10 from your mother, you can take 10 from others. But if you take only 5 from your mother, you can take only 5 from other. Because that is your morphogenetic imprinting. You can't make reality different than what you are morphogenetic vibing. You can't do that.
Mm.
Quantum physics teach to us clearly that we are energy. So if energetically that is the way we pursue love, we pursue life, we take, that is the same we manifest in reality. I take 5 from my mother, I can take 5 from other. If I take 10 from my mother, I can take 10 from others. And guess what? If I take 5 from my mother, I can give 5 to others. But if I take 10 to my mother from my mother, I can give 10 to others. I cannot take 2 from my mother and pretend to give 10 to others. That can't work. That it cannot work.
That's interesting. So you mentioned a few things there which resonate with me, because when I think about taking from your mother, your mother is the gift of life. So she is the one that gives you life, and your ability to receive is correlated or linked to your ability to give to others. Because when you mention guilt, like part of the probably the biggest growth hurdles for myself is that I discovered a few years ago, and I'm like 46, right? So this is only just a recent discovery, that most of my life has been lived in guilt and shame and almost like a comparison and not feeling enough. So everything that I did was in the pursuit of achievement and kicking goals and all those sorts of things in order to feel value. But I found that there was a big stumbling block in receiving. So when people would want to like give me things, I would most often say no. But I would like to give more than anyone else would ask for. Even if they didn't ask for anything, I would just give my time, I would give my service, I would give money. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost that. But listening to you speak, it's apparent to me now that a lot of my baseline was from a guilt, it was from a shame, it was from unworthiness, it was from an inner lack of self-love, of being willing to receive, willing to help. I don't know if it's just a male thing as well, like willing to ask for help or willing to feel vulnerable. But in the last 3 or 4 years, that openness to receive and to accept and because I've been brought to my knees, basically, spiritually, financially, emotionally, those sorts of things, I've had almost no option but to ask and to say, you know what, I am not the man that I used to be. I'm not in a good place at the moment. I'm in that space of feeling vulnerable, of being open, of being willing to share, being willing to receive. I found that growth curve for me has been one of the biggest bell curves in my entire life.
When somebody, Adrian, does not ask, that comes from a place of arrogance. It comes from a place of, I don't need you. And if you don't need me, I go away. You are alone. If you don't need anybody, you are alone. If you don't need your mother, you are alone. If you don't ask to your mother, that comes from a place of arrogance. What is arrogance systemically? This is a child who places himself at the same level of his mother or even above. And what he says to his mother is, I don't need you. That is the guilt that you're perceiving. Emotions are way easier than how they describe. We experience basically only 3-level emotion: sadness, anger, and guilt. Sadness, anger, and pride. Pride takes different forms: shame, blame, hatred, this and that, judgment. Those are all under mechanism of pride or side mechanism of pride, only 3-level emotion. Guilt is different. Guilt is a base level emotion such as anger, a second level emotion such as anger, which comes above sadness and tells us how we relate to exchange. Anger is perceived when we give too much, guilt when we take too much, and they maintain balance. When you give too much, anger stops you. Hey, mate, giving too much, get angry, get back in line. When you take too much, you need to compensate and give back, okay? When somebody lives in a state of guilt, they sabotage themselves because they cannot receive. They give away because they are unable to receive. You understand that?
Absolutely.
So when somebody is unable to receive, this is a big concept, and everybody is like, oh, that's true. When somebody is unable to receive, they perceive guilt because they bring the universe off balance. So they need to take in order to get back in line. Because they only give, they brings the universe off balance. And eventually other people go away because they give too much. They feel this constant place of guilt because they don't take from their mother. Even from their father, although it is their mother that they need to take. Once they're able to face that guilt and take from their mother, everything else gets in balance and they stop sabotage themselves. Guilt is so important. It's probably one of my main concepts that I share and I explore the most, because it is the the basement of relationship, giving and taking. A relationship is based on giving and taking.
Absolutely.
The first law of existence for a relationship is giving and taking. I give 1, I take 2. I give 3, I take 4. I give 5, I take 6. I give 7, I take 8. That's how a relationship grow, and evolve.
Yeah, so true. So where does that stem from? So from if what you said is 100% true for me, but I'm also thinking that it reminds me a lot of particularly women who are in this frame of self-sacrifice or in this virtue of servitude. So they want to give all of themselves to their husband or their children or both or whatever it may be, but at the sacrifice and neglect of themselves. So they always feel like no one's looking after them, but they are looking after everyone else. But I'm interested to find out from your training and your perspective, like, where does that come from, or what could be the possible scenarios of where someone would start to have that feeling or the projection of guilt and shame and worry or like you said, pridefulness, all of those things, those emotions. Where does that come from?
This question has 2 levels. So I go to the base level. A woman perceive value from the way her father look at her. If her father look at her with, you are beautiful, he acknowledged her. She finds a man who acknowledge her, who make her feel valued. If her father didn't look at her, or perhaps look at her without giving her value, or without acknowledging her, without making her feel important and valued, that's the man she pursues in her life. She finds a man who doesn't make her feel value. And because she doesn't feel value, she seeks to give more. She thinks unconsciously, I give more in order to receive a little bit more. However, because she didn't take that value from her father, she go in a circle. She keep giving, and the man keeps making her feel unvalued, unworthy, unseen, because that's the way her father made her feel. And eventually she gets angry to a point when she explodes. She let that man go, or she gives too much, she explodes in a big rush of anger. And eventually, sometimes she's the one passing as the bad one, because she gave so much and she didn't say nothing, that eventually she reached a point where she explodes, she fall down, and she says everything, and she really let herself go. You understand women that they work through their masculine for 2 reasons. They're always angry and they always tired. Mm-hmm. They give too much, so they're always angry. They give too much, they're always tired. And eventually they are generally in relationship with little boys. They are mother to them. Okay, so those are the most classical relationship, the most classical issue for women over this era is to find men that they not yet in their masculine. So they're not yet in a place of providing, but they are in a place of cuddle me, receive me, give me the acknowledgement that my mother didn't give me. Okay, so that is the major hiccup that I see in women. Eventually, when a woman takes this value through that man, potentially she discovers all those wounds, all those dark patterns within herself, and she evolves through self-development, family constellation, Reiki, whatever it is. Then eventually she takes her value as an adult woman, and then she moves back to her mother. Because those forms of love are what psychology calls narcissism. Mm-hmm. The woman takes value from the eyes of the man, the man takes the value from the eyes of the woman. Eventually, when a man evolves into manhood, he takes the value from within, from his father within, and she takes the value from within, from her mother within. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Was there a second layer to that or not? Did you say there were 3 layers?
I fused the 2, but the second layer is the one of moving towards her mother, because when she moved towards her mother, if she cannot enter her mother in full, that she misses her value as an adult woman. Mm-hmm. So she remains this teenager woman when, in order for her to perform value, to give value to herself, she gives more. She seeks to give more to feel value. That is a teenage love. That is a woman in the sphere of influence of her father. The second lady is her mother. When she enters her mother, she takes the value within. The value of her mother, the value that her mother generates in her, are her value as an adult woman.
Yeah, got it. You know, there's a lot of what you said though resonates with me. It's probably ebbs and flows between giving to others and then the pendulum would swing back to self-righteousness, selfless, not selfless, like selfish, you know, doing things for my own gain, and then swinging back into serving of others and things like that. And also part of my, like the person that I once was, I could attest to being highly emotional and not feminine, but effeminate, you know, is that the word? Like had a feminine qualities or feminine traits, much less masculine than what I feel like I embody now. You with me?
From what I'm hearing from you, it's not actually the fact that you were more emotionally, but it is the fact that you were seeking this value through giving, potentially because that was you giving to your mother to some extent, or you not taking. That is what psychology calls a narcissistic trait. So I don't perceive my value within, but I still pursue value, or I still seek value through the eyes of others. So when the value is search externally, Adrian, eventually that is a narcissistic trait, and it is the second sphere of influence, the childhood sphere of influence. For us, it's still the mother, the first, because that's how we learn value from the first sphere of influence, by the eyes of our mother. For women, it is their second sphere of influence, their father. When we seek value externally, that is a narcissistic trait, and it is a teenage form of acknowledgement, value. We are work in progress. We are evolving through that, but it is important because we learn sexual attraction. That is important because we learn sexual attraction. We get sexually attracted to the other because the other gives us value. That is important to develop sexuality.
Absolutely.
That is why it exists biologically and to a soul level.
Got it. Yeah, this word narcissistic traits and narcissism and things like that, that really gets thrown around a lot. But as you just pointed out, like, you know, if I am really honest with myself, you know, there are times where, you know, I can be a narcissist or I have narcissistic traits. Would you say that, whether people like to admit it or not, like everyone kind of embodies whatever psychological term you want to label yourself, you know, in terms of your attachment styles, or whether you're fearful, or whether you're avoidant, or whether you're narcissistic, or whether you're empathetic, or, you know, whatever it may be? Like, do you find that we all really encompass and embody all and above of all of those feelings and traits and character traits? Do you think that we all possess it at each one time? And say an example would be, you know, you and I are loving individuals. Okay. So the people that may see us in this form, they're like, you know, I can't imagine Tiziano doing anything bad. But I've heard some stories where, you know, you wanted to plot to kill someone at one point in stage. So, like, you know, if something happened to my kids, I don't think it would be past me or beyond me to kill someone. So that, using that example, it's like, I think everyone has the ability to be an angel and the devil. Am I making sense to you so far?
Therapy, Adrian, and self-development makes a lot of complicated terminology and concept, but to a soul level, they are way easier. I give you an example. I do have narcissistic traits still as now while I am recording with you. And those are gifts that I use through my service. I use my personality, perhaps my aspect, even my physical aspect, even to attract the service that I provide. You know that if I host a workshop with 100 people, 90 are women. In my workshop, the majority of clients are women. Yeah, but it is also my capability to serve women, because I have spent most of my teenage childhood with my mother and her friends. So I developed that form of charm which attract women. Eventually, in order for me to serve women and for them to trust me, I need to be very close to my father. Because a man close to his father is perceived as trustable from women. And man only close to his mother is perceived weak, wobbly, and it is not trustworthy in the eyes of women. But eventually, my closeness to my father gives me that trustworthy experience where I can serve him. Although I use narcissistic traits, even in my expression, the way that I like to perform, I like to be in front of a lot of people, I like to be interviewed, I like to be in movies, I like to be looked at. That is a narcissistic trait, and I'm totally okay with that. It has been a path of evolution for me that actually brought it to service. I serve others through that.
Yeah. But I mean, is narcissist is that another word for ego? Like, could you say that when you're in your ego, then they're the things that you desire from the recognition, from wanting to be in movies and to be at the front in the limelight? Because the way I understand you and the work that you do, I would say that you would be similar to me in the sense that you would float between the two. You like to be at the front, but then you also like to sit and watch and observe and, like watch everyone's patterns and watch the world go by. You float between both states. So that would that be ego and spirit, ego and higher self?
People confuse, Adrian, very big concept, ego, narcissistic and stuff, with two very basic concepts. One is guilt and one is innocence. Guilty and innocent. When somebody remain innocent, children are innocent, they don't take from anybody. Children take from their parents, parents give, children take. Easy, they remain innocent. So people feel they enter an egoic approach, an egoic expression, and narcissistic behavior because they confuse guilt with innocence. So the fact that I go there and I say, well, I use my body, my language to take from others, perhaps even money, perhaps abundance and this and that, people could reflect this to an egoic approach. But actually, I just like to receive. I just like to take from life. Why? Because I'm giving. Sure. And the difference is, Adrian, that innocent people, they serve only themselves. People who don't take from their parents, they only serve themselves. People who are capable to take from their parents and to take from others, even if it's under form of attention, they are guilty. They like to take and they face it. Yeah, I like to take. I like to receive attention. I like to receive money. I like to receive abundance. Why? Because I took from my parents, I can face that guilt and I can serve more. So yes, I am guilty. Yes, I can serve more through that. If I take more, I can serve more. And that is where people confuse the concept of, oh, it's very egoic, it's very this, it's very that. I face what is. I am good at my work. I could say I'm good at my work. I'm good at serving, and I like to take from people, and I like to be in front page. That is something that perhaps gives me a little bit of value still. Yes, that's fine. Ego is the ego. It is important that the ego doesn't take over the soul, but the soul and the ego can work together, because the soul incarnating through the body to have the human experience. The human experience is the most spiritual experience of them all, because it's soul experiencing itself through the body. So the ego is part of it, like they work together. It's like they hand in hand. Right. If the ego takes over and it's all ego, well, that you get a little bit far from the source, from love, from the morphogenetic experience. That perhaps brings you off balance. But you can work together. Ego and soul, they can work together hand by hand. Beauty.
Yeah, so I love how you say that. And I think that when I think back to my own life and when I'm working with people as well, I feel like there's certain patterns of behaviors, there's certain experiments, there's certain experiences, and the way that people might, like you'll come from, whether it might be, give or take or guilt or serve or whatever it may be. But I feel like when you mention words like guilt, for example, it has a negative connotation, but I feel that from what I hear from you is that the guilt can serve for you or serve against you, right? So like, does that make sense? Like I can use my ego for good or for evil. I can use my guilt or for good or for evil. I can use my fear for good or for evil. Like it can serve me in both ways.
Guilt becomes negative when you can't face it. When
Yes.
you avoid to take and you avoid to face guilt, it becomes negative because unconsciously sabotages you. But when you can actually face it and take from people, from your mother, from everybody, you can give more. Guilt is good. Guilt is the basement of your giving, of your service. If you don't take, you can't give. Imagine I put my phone in charge, I can recharge my phone and use it. But if I don't charge my phone, if I don't take electricity, my phone doesn't work. It remains this much battery and it goes. Same things like people, they pretend to be full tank without taking. How can you be a full tank without taking? It doesn't work. Like
Right.
it's like law of life. What you take, you can give. If you can't take, you can't give. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I've heard you often say that there's no such thing as chaos in the universe or in the world. Everything's in perfect harmony and order. There's no such thing as disorder and chaos. Everything seems to correct itself and things like that. And we can see that within cycles of times, or within the economy, or within the environment, or within a political structure, or within an evolution of such. Like, so it's a really fascinating concept, and I think I almost like breathe a sigh of relief when I hear it all the time. It sort of sets my my compass, to take the edge off.
The planet doesn't need us. We need the planet because the
So
planet
true.
maintains order within itself. The carnivore hunts the herbivore eventually feed the soil, and
Yes.
the carnivore feed the soil, and the herbivore eats the results of it, like the grass. So everything works in perfect harmony. It is a bit of a, I would say, like. We go more into a conspiracy ideology, but it's more of a somebody who tried to make us believe that the universe needs us to correct it with pollution and with this and that, but actually the universe react and place everything in order with those massive storms, those massive waves, whatever happened, this extreme weather, because the universe placed himself, the planet placed himself in order again. The same is for us human. Everything returns to balance. If you have taken from your partner too much, when this relationship will break, you will give it away all the time. Like I broke up my relationship almost 1 year ago, and I felt at the time I took a lot from that person because I was very weak. In that moment, I was extremely weak. So when my weak emotionally, I was going through a big path in my life, big change. I broke up 6 years relationship. There's a lot of things. This person came into my life and she helped me a lot. She supported me a lot. Eventually, at the time, I took more. But when we broke up, unconsciously, obviously, my business started to go well. I started to really expand, and I started to give it back emotionally, financially, because there's a compensation mechanism. And I always say that, like, everything is maintained in balance and it works unconsciously. It just works normally. That's why another concept about relationship, the one who leaves the relationship needs to give a little bit more. I always say to people, if you leave the relationship, you give a little bit more. You'll feel better. You face that guilt, and the other person feels better towards you. There's a compensation. You have left the relationship, maybe for somebody else, maybe because you're breaking up or stuff, whatever you do, but you give a little bit more and you compensate, and the relationship return to balance. Eventually, one day can restart, or you just become friends, whatever it is.
Tiziano, there might be a lot of men that will disagree with you when they go through a divorce. They give everything away, like it's they might feel like there's an imbalance. But I hear what you're saying. I think that there's obviously an element of truth to that.
The men that they give more, they generally men that they were in a relationship with their mother. Because when they are in a relationship with their partner, they give enough and their partner is happy with that to move away. Eventually, if they have a family, the man gives a little bit more because he gives also as a provider for the children. So it's always 7-3. I always give the number. Woman when they break up, the woman remain with the 3 and the men give the 7. So the woman give 3 and the man gives 7. It's just a comparison, an ideology with numbers. But it always works like that. And the man feel more man if he does that, and the woman feel more woman if she does that. When the woman avoid to take or the man avoid to give, that's an issue. That causes issue for the children and for the divorce. When the man remain and give 7 and the woman she stay and remain with 3, for example, she becomes more woman and he becomes more man, and the divorce, the separation goes well. The children are happy about it. Are happy. Obviously, there are less consequences. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Fuck, man, you probably would have rubbed 90% of men who've been through a divorce the wrong way. I don't think any man going through a divorce that gives 7 out of 10, would feel the same way. I think going through it, maybe that's an interesting perspective. I think you'd probably have to go to someone and say, at the time, it wouldn't have felt good, but in 5 years' time, or like when you look back in hindsight, would have made a difference. So I'd like to really talk to a few people. I know with myself, like it's, I'm at that stage now in terms of the division of things and all that kind of stuff. So, we'll see how that all pans out. But yeah, it's an interesting concept.
I always say to people, don't trust my word, test it. And then let me know in 3 to 5 years when things happen.
That's an expensive test, Tiziano, when you
I believe it. I believe so. But Adrian, you got to become aware that a man takes responsibility when he enters a marriage. Many people are very much not aware of the concept of marriage, which I actually like to bring it to the surface if interested about.
Absolutely.
Marriage, the concept of marriage is the father of the bride giving the bride to another family. So he let go of his daughter. He gives his daughter as a gift to a new family. Why? Because she has a capability to carry forward life. He gives her to the new family as a gift for her capability to carry life forward. So the woman follow the man. And in exchange to this, the man places himself in service to her. This is how the marriage unfolds better. When this unfolding doesn't unfold properly, so the man doesn't place himself in service to her, and perhaps she doesn't follow him, this is where we see the relationship trembling. But the concept is that the father of the bride gives the bride as a gift to the new family. So that's why she takes the name of the new family. That's the ideology. That's why as a man, we have a lot of responsibilities because they carry life forward. That is a very scary experience, Adrian, because they risk their life to do that. Now, every woman remains alive after birth and this and that, but only 100 years ago, at least one woman was dying out of it. And 300 years ago, 2 women were dying. So this is a very risky experience for them. They get in contact with death. Every time they have sex, they are in contact with death. That's why they are the one opening the dance of sex, open sexuality, because unconsciously they know they can die from this. So this is a very, very, very big responsibility for them and for life itself. This is the biggest success of life, the capability to carry life forward, motherhood. So for us, the more we place ourselves in service to them, and the more we are in harmony with the biology of things, and the more we feel men, we feel very much in our manhood when we serve women.
I agree. And I think most men would want to be the person in servitude, the person in charge, the person who provides. It's certainly a core of my value system, is to provide and to be the breadwinner and to serve in that way, 100%. It probably just the dynamic of a separation, for example, it probably just hurts more,
I've gone through a very tough divorce, and I feel in divorce I'm like the Maradona of soccer. I'm very good at spotting where is the issue in the divorce dynamic, because I've gone through a very big divorce, my mom and my dad, and I understood over time when where the issue was. Eventually, as I explained to you, the man serves the woman, but the issue comes always with the father of the woman, her father, because that's the first movement. It's her father giving her to you. So the issue is always coming back to him, to his relationship with her and her relationship with him. This is the biggest issue. This is always where the issue comes about. So if I want to understand where the divorce goes and the dynamic on it, I need to look back at the relationship between her and her father.
Really? Is that regardless for who left or who separated or anything like that? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter to me, because that's the first movement of marriage. It's him giving her to the new husband, to the future husband. Eventually, in him, I can look at his relationship with his mother. Sure. If he has not left his mother in full, he's half away with her and she's half away with him. So if she's still with her father and he's still with his mother, it cannot work, because they are half away in, half away out. Yeah. In order for them to be fully in, he must leave his family of origin. She must leave her family of origin. Always.
Wow. Interesting. Can I ask you, there's a few things that I've been exploring myself in the last 6 to 12 months. And when I've come to this sort of, not so, almost a recent realization, but, you know, when I think about you and your coaching and your purpose, there's a true embodiment of your willingness to help others elevate to the point in which they can, what I would say, acquire freedom from a spirituality point of view, from an economic point of view, from a relationship point of view. Like they have the ability to have choices and to be in control of their lives. So that is truly embodied by the things that you do and say, and how you carry yourself forward. You can see it in your personality. You can see it in your energy. I've been like, you know, we've been together and done a few sessions. We've had a coffee together. You can just see that that's your aura of how things are. When I have done some self-reflection, you know, a lot of the things that I have embodied myself as a teenager, and then also through coaching and personal development, is not too dissimilar in the sense that I desire to help others become more sovereign, to be in tune with themselves so they can be more self-governing and less, you know, acquiescing their power or living in as a subordinate or servitude to a higher power, whether that be the government, your mom, your dad, Jesus, like whatever it is. That's my mission and my purpose. So the overarching theme is to help people take control of their lives. But I've often heard you say that in terms of free will and control, you've articulated a few times that there is very limited free will, or at least not as much as what people would like to think. And I wanted to challenge you on that, because I don't know, it grinds me to the degree that if that's the case, then, you know, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, am I leaving it up to someone else to make a decision for me? Is it just the universe has got this all planned? You know, when I interviewed David Icke the other day, he's like, you know, we're born with a set of programs. We're born with this simulation that's in mind, and there's a lot of things that you think are synchronicities, but they're not. It's just the way the universe is designed for you to see through a certain light, through certain frequencies, through certain vibrations. Have I kind of given you a broad picture? So I'm asking a lot of people these days about, you know, what they think about how much are they in control of the decisions in their lives? Are they in control of their own destiny? Are they truly the author of their own story? Or is this system designed that no matter what you do, your lineage going back, who knows, into thousands of years of past lives, is that your karmic duty to go through? Are we meant to live and incarnate this life 1,000 times until we learn the right lessons. I mean, like, anyway, that's my perspective on things and my challenge with it all, because I have a theory and an observation and also a viewpoint of how I behave and embody and react to certain things like that, or that sentiment. But anyway, I'll hand it over to you. What do you think?
There are different layers of existence. The layer of existence which include us all is love. Love eventually unfolds through this morphogenetic field, if you want to call it a little bit more quantum physics. And this morphogenetic field moves in only one direction. And that is to reunite that which has been separated. So even the darkness works in service to light. Even the COVID, which was manipulated by underlayer of conscience, or was something in service or in control from this layer of conscience, but in service to a higher form of love. So after COVID, there's been an expansion. So life moves through contraction and expansion, contraction and expansion. I respect David Icke to the core. He's been one of the person who has called me the most and made me understood everything. And I'm totally in alignment with everything he says. There's not an inch that I would say no to him. Although, if I tune in a higher form of love, and I'm sure to discuss this with him would be amazing, even him could see that even the darkness serves the light. So the COVID serves the contraction to the expansion, and eventually he moved in only one direction. Just as wars, just as every kind of contraction that happened into the planet always moves the planet towards the better. However, the concept of David Icke is extremely important. Why? Because it brings to the surface what we need in order to move into harmony. And that word is only one: courage. David Icke is very strong with that. When someone is courageous and is capable to take their life, and I want to use this word, through their balls, they don't serve the darkness anymore, but they actually serve the expansion, tune into the expansion, and they expand and move towards harmony. However, as today, I don't feel human free will is almost existence, is limited. The only things that change that amount of free will that we have, Adrian, I bring you back to this concept, is courage. When we are courageous, we can serve life in harmony. When we don't step into courage and we remain in what we call innocence, and we don't step up, then we serve life through darkness. However, even by serving through darkness, we still serve life, and the free will is extremely limited. One choice was I take the jab, for example. The other choice was I don't take the jab. So our free will was very limited, if you think about it. My free will is limited. I can serve life through darkness, or I can serve life without courage, or I can serve life with courage and with harmony and step into my purpose and serving others. What's the difference? Darkness serves only itself. Light serves others. That's the only free will we have. Serving others, serve only themselves, serve only ourselves. What's the difference? Courage. What's the difference? Innocence, guilt. Easy, basic.
I actually agree with everything that you said. However, when you say the only free will is that limited, but that limit, if you were to say, from here, I am going to, it looks like this. But if I go 30,000 feet out, right? And, or actually the other way around, if I go all the way in, then I go close and I go a microscopic level, it's like this. That limited amount of free will is everything.
But I'm going to tell you how it unfolds, in fact. David Icke, who uses courage and that free will, his name stands for 1,000 years. Look at those 30 feet that you said. His impact stands for 1,000 years, even more. I'm sure about it. People who don't step into that courage and they choose that limited free will without courage, their impact stands maybe 30 years, 40 years. Their name it's fading into history. That's the difference.
I understand. So is it is it the right thing to say that the limited choice, the limited amount of free will that we have is everything that will unfold in expansion and in, you know, the
Action.
movement towards love, the movement towards purpose, you know, because the way that you like, it's like that word guilt, you know, it's got a negative sentiment to it. When you say limited, limited means I am contracted. There's not much space. Everything is controlled around me, right? So it's that in psychology that the gap between stimulus and response, you know, there is a Tiziano will say something to me and there is a small microscopic gap between what you say and how I feel, and there's a choice that can be made between that split second, you know, fraction nanosecond of a, you know, of a moment in time, right? So but to me that tiny speck on the earth is everything. It's like zooming in on an atom. It's everything and nothing. It's all where, all time, all space, all knowing. Like that's God. That's, you follow me?
I do follow you, but I want to bring you a concept.
Yeah, go.
When people are contracted into the capacity of, for example, a human to have their free will, imagine I have chosen this incarnation to experience a certain form of love, a certain point of attention of love. Imagine if I would have free will when I enter the body, I could skip, I can move aside what I actually decided to experience. Instead, Tiziano somehow met Adrian, and Adrian and Tiziano, they serve life together through this podcast. But would you say that that is a coincidence, or would you say that there is a morphogenetic field that moves within me and within Adrian that makes me feel, oh, I should say yes to Adrian, and Adrian, oh, I should contact that Tiziano. So there's a pull, okay? There's a feeling, an emotion. There's a power force behind that tells me go there. That is what I say. There's no free will because there's a pushing behind that tells me go there. Although I have the free will to say, that Adrian doesn't resonate me, or that Tiziano doesn't resonate me. Do I have that free will or not, Adrian? I don't, and I tell you why. Because when Adrian contact me, I have good feelings. That is my limited free will. And when you contact Tiziano, you say, should I contact him? Not. I have good feeling. Oh, then I should go towards that, towards him. That is the free will that I call. And the more we move in harmony with this free will, and the more life unfolds harmoniously, eventually, when we move out of the path that we have chosen before incarnating, we experience what? Disharmony. We are in disharmony with the flow of life. Life moves here and we pretend to go there, but we don't feel good going there. That's the free will we don't have, because by not feeling good, we go back in line.
Sure.
That's how I feel like, oh, I've fought in kickboxing, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 20 years. Now it doesn't feel right anymore. That's life and my limited free will that tells me, go where you feel good about. I feel good to do this interview instead of going and run, I don't know how many kilometers this morning. I can go and train afterwards, but I feel better to do this interview with you because I'm in purpose here. I'm in harmony with life. I'm in harmony with what life choose for me. But who is life? Me. I have chosen this. Life lives within me. The soul, it's this particle of life that lives within me. So I actually am limited to free will, or I place my own limit to remember where I need to go. That's the right way to see it. I place in myself this feeling inside so I know where I have to go. And when it feels good, that's where I need to go, brother. It feels good to do this because that's life telling me within me, mate, we are on track, brother.
We are. All right. So again, but I the way that the vision that I have that comes to me is like, when you say that, you're talking, what I hear from you is resonance. Okay. So if you think about everything is energy and vibration, right? So if we are in a certain frequency, then our frequencies will gravitate towards each other. You know, when you've got a a tuning fork and you've got a guitar string, you know, eventually they will find each other, and the more you tighten the string, it starts to resonate with the tuning fork, and they go, and they're going back up to the same level. So I feel like we are in resonance with one another, and that can go across worlds and across times. I feel that there is no such thing as time in a linear sense. I think that there was a version of Adrian and Tiziano that were out of alignment and in a different timeline. And the more that I raised my vibration to meet yours, our time and space condensed to the point that we can meet at this level. Otherwise, we wouldn't have resonated with each other. You wouldn't have said yes. You said to me for the first time, I don't know, I don't really do many podcasts, but yours seemed like it was a good podcast to do. You just acted on that feeling. So that's kind of conducive to the way that I live my life now. If I feel the call straight away to say I should contact someone, I just do it there. I do it on the spot, because the timing is the time to act. The calling is the call to action. The universe always rewards action. And if it comes to me and I say, no, thank you, it just goes to somebody else and who's at the frequency that they need to be at. And then they get all the spoils, you know, they get all the fruits of the labor. But it's not that it didn't come to me. That's why there's nothing new under the sun. There's no new ideas. Everything that we experience for now has been done and created. I feel like, you know, you and I have lived another 1,000 lifetimes and in the same time and space frequency. Does that make sense? We just collapse it all together when we raise to a level of vibration.
That is the basic concept, Adrian, of relationship. In order to relate with you, I need to be at the same frequency. Otherwise, we don't meet. I vibe at 750 and you vibe at 320. We can't meet. The same things when people say, my partner is narcissistic. If your partner is narcissistic, has narcissistic traits, means that you have narcissistic traits. And I tell you the reason, because by energetic law, you cannot vibe at the frequency that's somebody different than you. You must vibe under a different point of attention. Narcissistic traits, again, means that you are in the sphere of influence of your mother as a man, and she's in the sphere of influence of her father as a woman. Nothing bad about it, but you are in that form of value, external value, that allows you both to vibe at the same frequency and relate to each other. And I said, this is a quantum law. You can't attract a vibration that's different from you. If you vibe at 720, you can't meet somebody who vibes at 280. You just can't meet energetically. That's a universal laws. I didn't make those rules. So that's very easy, very easy. Yeah. If you meet somebody who takes value externally, it means that you take value externally. Easy.
Yeah. Well, look, what you've described is truly the meaning of life. And when you mentioned before in terms of, not to be conspiratorial, but I think it is a conspiracy. I think that there is a planned objective to take you out of harmony into disharmony, to bring your vibration down to such a level where you can be manipulated and coerced and controlled to such a degree that you can navigate systems, you can navigate economies, you can swing share markets and house prices and inflation rates and you know, third world wars and an election. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can actually manipulate and control the world through the lower vibration frequencies in order to create an outcome that you desire. And if that outcome is nefarious, well, then that's kind of the angle that you will go to. So I feel like we are at this precipice now, and COVID was a massive example of something that was dark and bringing everything, exposing the light, because it's not that, like you said before, it's not that the darkness disappears. The darkness is still there. They both they interchange with each other. You know, it's not like you switch the light on, the darkness goes away. The darkness is still there. You've just got more light than dark. True?
That's very true. However, there is always a compensation mechanism. What goes down must go up. What goes up must go down. We live in duality. So even if there is a conspiratorial ideology behind, even who is manifesting the conspiratorial, if he's intelligent or aware enough, which I believe it is, that they understand what are the laws in this morphogenetic field, they know that there is a compensation mechanism. What goes down must go up. what goes up must go down. We live in a duality experience. So yes, there is the concept of darkness, but even darkness submit again to light, and light submit again to darkness, and they keep experiencing one another under different lengths of attention. Yes, there is a momentum of control based on fear, but fear submit again to love and to courage. Courage submit again to fear, but fear submit again to love. So it's a constant evolutionary path in which love experiences itself infinitely.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to question that, you just go through the history of since time began to now, and that's all you'll ever see. Right?
Just observe life. It's really about observing life. I always say to people, sometimes people are like, how do you know that? I say, look, I just sit and I observe life. I observe my mates, I observe me. I see how life unfolds. My partners, my relationship, easy. I see how life unfolds. I observe, and that's how, easy. That's
Easy.
it. Just look at it.
I love it. I love it. All right, man. Listen, it's always such a good time to chat with you. I look forward to when you come back to Sydney. We'll have to catch up if you can catch a breath of fresh air, and we'll grab a coffee or something like that. But I'm going to come and see you. My partner and I are going to come and see you in Melbourne in November. Okay, so we'll be at the workshop together. All right, but for everyone that's listening and wants to get a hold of you or come to your workshops, where's the best place to go?
Well, I have many now coming up. So there's Bondi, which we have the 6th of October. Then we have Melbourne, which is by the end of in November, I think. Then I have Perth in October. The best place to go is my website, www.tizianosguerso.com, because they see everything coming up. Because I don't even know myself these days, because luckily enough, I have one assistant, two assistants now, and we get a bigger team, and things are going well. I'm also really happy, brother, to have you in person and, share a big hug. Also, as I said to you, I'm taking a new apartment in Bondi, and when I do like a little bit of opening dinner, I will definitely message you. We are a group of men, maybe some women, so I'll do a little bit of opening, and I would love to have you too. So we'll be in touch.
My pleasure. But I love your work. I really enjoy everything that you embody, and I would encourage anyone listening to this to go and see you or one of your team or go to your workshops. I've spoken to many people that have been involved in your training and coaching, but not only that, just the person that you are, you're a breath of fresh air. And I think that's what people probably love the most, if I can mirror everyone's impersonation of you or their impression of you. So I appreciate everything you do, man. It's always good to catch up with you, and I look forward to circling back sometime soon. Okay.
Much love, brother, and big hug to you.
For sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.